Uh, all right.
Hey
We're back.
guys,
How you
yeah,
doing?
episode 15 of the
Yes.
Idiot Circle.
I'm Mike.
I'm Fred,
I'm Rob.
and ladies and gentlemen, former Marine City football coach Ron Glodich is honoring us on being on the show today. Thanks, Ron, for coming.
Thanks for having me, guys. Greatly appreciate it.
We had to throw the music in there.
Fred, did you say former? Oh, I thought we were having the current one on. Oh, that's it. Shut down the show.
Yeah. Oh God, you're hilarious, Rob.
He's full
Ron,
of it.
Ron, what we're gonna really want to talk about is, we know about the book, the Run to the River, and and before we get into the book, we really want to talk, a couple things, just a little bit about you. So, kind of give us an idea, like where you grew up and how you became a coach and some of the influences you had.
Okay. I grew up in Warren City, Warren, and went to high school at Warren Fitzgerald. The 10 Mile and Ryan area is basically where I grew up. And at Warren Fitzgerald, I participated in 3 sports: football, basketball, and baseball. And by being involved in those sports, I was blessed to have just awesome coaching staff at Warren Fitzgerald that definitely gave me an insight of what a coach's life might be, and got to know some of those coaches real well, specifically my head football coach, Al Drath, who was a Hall of Famer and just, to me, the ideal head coach. He had the most presence when he spoke to you. He could connect with every kid, and he really lived off of positive reinforcement as a motivator. And I think guys that played for him would speak that they would do anything for him. After Warren Fitzgerald, I traveled to Grand Valley State University and played baseball for 2 years. And basically my shoulder kind of fell apart a little bit, and came back home to Wayne State. And my junior year of college at Wayne State, an old friend of mine, Bill Snyder, his dad was the athletic director at Warren Fitzgerald, asked me to coach with him at our middle school, which is Chatterton Middle School. And him and I together coached 7th grade basketball. We're mentored by Tim McConnell's uncle, Ed Spalding, who was also a counselor at Warren Fitzgerald.
That's
So
right.
that was my connection to Marine City, is when I started coaching, and Ed started to mentor me more and more and said, maybe you should think about doing this, because currently, or at the time, I was thinking of going into physical therapy, which is a very competitive avenue program to get into. And I just didn't have the grades to get in. And it worked out well for me, because the passion I enjoyed coaching worked out quite well. But anyways, Ed suggested that I applied at Marine City, because there was a gentleman leaving by the name of Tim Carlson, a science position. And I applied in 1987 and was hired in August of 1987. And a funny story, I'm walking into the locker room at Marine City High School for the first time, and I ran into the freshman football coach, Tim Gerrans. Tim had been there quite a while, but
Yep.
Tim grabbed me and he said, a new student, what position do you play? And I said, well, sir, I'm here as a teacher and I'll be coaching. And he just looked so surprised that I was going to be coaching, but I guess I looked a little young at that time. So that's how I got to Marine City.
Coach. Looks like
thank
you
you.
can suit up right now.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Well, I knowing Ron as well as I do, I was at Marine City in '87, and then I got to meet him through Tim, and we ended up playing baseball together in that Canadian semi-pro league, and got to meet his mom and dad and how awesome they were, and obviously Ron's wife, and we really kind of hit it off nice. But Ron had a pretty good relationship with my dad as well. So
Chuck was awesome. I coached JV baseball under Chuck for several years, maybe 10 years, and just loved the whole experience. And it was perfect for me to watch him and how he handled kids. And it was a great mentor relationship for me. But I tell you something about Freddie that most people don't realize. That son of a gun could throw a football. I saw Freddie throw a football, and I said, holy cow, this guy had a quarterback in the making, the way he threw a football. So that's my memory of Freddie throwing a football. Is holy cow.
He's going to take a hit, though, Coach.
he's a little soft.
Yeah.
Glass jaw.
Yeah, I kind of went. I think I might have went a little Ryan Leaf.
Yeah.
Hey, Coach,
Yeah.
Obviously you've been part of a great tradition here at Marine City, and we've lived well as Marine City Mariner fans, and you're part of it. and I'm a big culture guy, and the guys know I'll ask about this. We know about the wins on the field. We know about the big hits. We know about what we've done through, the division. We're kind of like the Alabama of high school football in the thumb, right? That's how we kind of view ourselves. But kind of talk about how you develop young men, how you get there, and you've had an idea coming from Coach Bob, but then you also put your mark on it and how you, extrapolated that out.
Yeah, I think a lot of it, and again, I learned so much from Coach Bob. He was the ideal guy to work under, but a lot of it is just spelling out expectations right from the get-go, and just say this is what we expect from you, and if you vary off of this, we're going to have some problems. And to continually reinforcement, just having one-on-one conversations with kids, to me that was probably something that I should have done more of. But every time I had a one-on-one conversation with a kid, whether it was good or bad, I just thought it was so impactful on both of us, the kid and myself, because maybe I didn't understand where he was coming from, or maybe I didn't understand some circumstances at home. But one-on-one conversations, setting expectations. And then you have to, just like parenting, whenever an expectation is not met, there has to be consequences. And a funny story, you guys remember the one little skit with the comedians about the substitute teacher and Aaron?
Yeah.
So there was one day during the season where 3 or 4 teachers came up to me and they were just complaining about kids in class. And I told the football kids well before, I said, I do not like talking to teachers that complain about you. So if that happens a lot, we got problems. But anyways, the team would always start in my classroom before practice, and I had that skit on, and they didn't understand why I had that skit on. And when it got to the point where it said, you done screwed up, Ron, that's where I froze the script. And I turned around and their eyes were just as big as can be. I said, okay, what are we in trouble for? What do we do? And I had to explain. And then I laid out the consequences that were going to happen at the end of practice. But they were all giggling until I froze it after, you done screwed up, Ron.
You set them up. You set them up.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm that guy, Coach, that you know who I am. I'm the guy that knows nothing about football, will sit in the stands as close to the players and the coaches I can and tell you how to do your job. You know who I am? You know that guy?
Oh yeah.
How do you deal with that, Coach?
It's called headphones.
Yeah.
And that's true. That's true. I honestly don't hear 95% of it. And luckily my wife is kind of, I don't know how to say this. Her sports IQ is not very strong. She's a great lady. I love her to death, but she doesn't really understand when they're ripping on me. And she says, boy, these dads were really, really upset. I don't really understand why they were so upset. But yeah, I to be honest, I don't hear it. And you just have to say, that's, they paid their $5. They get their chance to say whatever they want. My only concern sometimes is if it gets into the kids' ears and they hear it, and the domino effect that happens when they hear some of that negativity. But for the coaching staff, we expect that, and it doesn't bother us.
Yeah, well, definitely the kids are hearing it, because this is a small town, and even if they didn't hear it at the time, it spreads around.
So. And I mentioned in the book what's surprising, because I do know who the dads are. Tim McConnell was my great advocate. He would always give me a heads up. Hey, this guy's ripping you. This guy's ripping you. But how many times after a big game, the guys that were ripping on me wanted to come up and shake my hand after the game? I said, okay, I see the way we work here.
Yeah, it's funny how W's do that.
Yeah.
It's like one of these things, Ron, which I wish you would have had one of the water boys go, anytime you heard somebody yell, just hold up the sign that says 288 and 68. Shut up.
Yeah.
Hey,
Tony and I, Scarcelli joked that when we retired, we were going to be on the press box and we were going to be professional parent hecklers. That was what our job was going to be.
Nice.
Listen to that parent. They were awesome in high school.
You know what you should have done, Ron? You should have showed up at the Detroit Edison and all the places around work in town and just heckled those guys at their job.
Yeah,
That's what you should.
Yeah, except I get to do it for free. You had to pay to heckle me.
Right. Exactly.
Hey, Ron, how does a coach write a book and then pay homage, or at least even think about the Water Boys? What's that? I mean,
oh man,
That's amazing.
There's so many stories. I really only gave them one chapter, but there are so many stories. A story that never made the book was Anthony Scarcelli when he was a water boy, very young. He started very young, but pregame, he was notorious for coming up to tap on my shoulder or tap on Coach Bob's and ask him for money to go to the concession stand. Right as kickoff is happening, he's tugging.
Well,
I
he
have a
did
dollar
the
for
same
the
thing to
concession
Mike
stand.
for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're a wonderful part of the program, and to see how many of those kids have turned out to be just outstanding players. The Headleys
Oh
are
my
a great
God.
example. All 4 of the Headleys were water boys, and all 4 of those guys turned out to be captains and just stud players for us.
Oh my
So,
God.
I think they learn a little bit about the intensity. I think they learn about being coached hard, and it's just a good experience for them to prep them for what we're going to do to them when they get to the varsity level.
So, Coach, what do you think? What do you think makes kids from Marine City so successful at football? I mean, obviously, it's a good program. You got a great system, but ultimately, the kids are the ones that are making the plays on the field. Was it about the kids from Marine City? Is it because they're from a small town, or we do have kind of a blue collar community? What do you think it is?
I think you tapped on it there with the blue collar mentality of we got to put our time in. We've got to put our work in to see the benefits. So right from the get-go, any kid that came into our program, they were willing to work. They didn't shy away from work. They understood the value of work, and that comes from good parenting. That comes from a good community base on understanding the concept of hard work and what it can do for you. And Bob took the brunt of the pushback. There's no doubt about it. For example, hunting, that was a big pushback. Kids, you can't go hunting. This is football season. We've got to get through the season. I can't give you a day off to go hunting. So big pushback there. He took the brunt of it. But once we got through those first couple of years and we had some success, there was minimal parent backlash, coming knocking on AD's doors and stuff like that. And I think it's a little bit different than the community to the north. I think there's a lot of parental input up there that sometimes does more harm than good. But down at Marine City, I think the community lets the administrators do their job. They let them, manage the coaches like they should. And if there's a problem, I think the administrators do a good job of handling it and not allowing it to get to the coaches before it becomes a bigger problem.
Freddie makes a good point, right? Because we've always said when we went to school at Marine City, we're looked down upon. No, I mean, I'm not going to call any.
We were called the dirty water drinkers.
Yeah, with Marine City was like, the lower end of St. Clair County. And, you look at the data points now, what you just said, Coach, proves how we've overcome those data points. St. Clair, Marysville, Port Huron have a bigger pool to pull from. They have a better resource. They have more facilities. They have all this, but yet we've been able to outshine, overcome all that, and again speak to that culture that all 3 of your coaches have created, and even going back towards when Jerry Workentine was here.
Yeah, I think Jerry, did a great job getting the momentum rolling, and then, with his ability to hire Bob Siskevich, that was a great handoff there, and I think they both saw things the same. So I mentioned in the book, I feel those 2 were visionaries, whether they like it or not. They're too humble guys to want to talk about it, but those 2 were visionaries on what the program should look like, and they did a great job of getting coaches to buy in to make sure we built it like they thought it should be built.
Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned the school to the north too, because both my dad and I coached in that program, and just see you want to try to emulate the teams that are doing well, and the thing is it's the kids have to buy into it, the parents have to buy into it, and if they can't, then it's just going to be lack of terms of it's going to be a shit show. So, but the fact is someone like you, like Rob always comes to me and says, well, when you talk Marine City football, what's your term? And I say, fine oiled machine. And we know where you learned it from, because just like Ohio State says, we're only going to be practicing to beat Michigan. It's like you guys came in and said, we are only going to practice and become what Marysville is, and we're going to make it, and we're even going to make it better. Yeah. And as far as the coaching staff is concerned, I don't know if there's ever been a school in my lifetime anywhere near where I lived that's ever been as good as the one that you guys have had.
Yeah, we had a great model. Like you said, Marysville, people don't remember or don't realize we lost to them 10 straight years. Jerry had a win, I think.
Oh,
In
this
his
town
last season.
remembered.
Yeah, we remember.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
town
yeah.
remembered, Coach,
Yeah.
for sure.
And I mentioned in the book how Coach Bob, after every loss, would put that score on the inside of his locker. And every day when he opened his locker, he saw that score. It was the driving force. In fact, he at times refused to even drive through that town. That's how much he despised the concept of Marysville there. But they had a model with Walt Brown at head coach for years, Jim Vigna, defensive coordinator, and their coaching staff stayed together for years. And it was that continuity that I think made them successful. There were so many times I would watch them in a preseason scrimmage and say, okay, this is the year we're going to get them. But that coaching staff was excellent at getting improvement week to week. And with their system being full platoon, Jim Vigna on defense and Walt on offense, they saw amazing improvement from game 1 to game 9. And usually we faced them around game 8 for the league championship back when we were in the scale right there. And we struggled until we started emulating and doing full platoon like themselves and doing some things similar to them and creating a little bit of a niche on offense and defense to specialize, our games against Marysville. But, Marine City is not where it is today unless we face Marysville and Walt Braun all those years.
It's funny you mentioned that because I know the exact game where the tide turned, and it was you guys playing Marysville at home in the playoffs. They had Joliker as the running back, and you guys just manhandled him, and then you guys beat him, and then from there it was you guys it's over. It's our time. And because at that game I wasn't in the crowd. I actually was the guy flying the flag because Tony asked me to run around like an idiot with the flag and the ski mask on.
Not a better.
That's funny.
They couldn't have asked anybody better.
Exactly.
If they're looking for a knucklehead, they found one.
They found the right idiot. So
Coach,
Exactly.
we were talking the other day before, we were gonna talk questions on this interview, and you've had a couple generational players, obviously, and Brendan Kay being one of them. And I wanted to ask you about, take the field presence out of there, what he did on the field. Where did you identify him as a leader of that program? Obviously, he was a leader because the kids rallied around him, just like the coaching staff. Did you have a moment in a locker room, in the classroom, in the hallway, where you saw something in him and said, wow, that he is really what he's cracked up to be? Take us there. Tell us something that we don't know about Brendan Kay.
Yeah, well, first of all, I say that the greatest thing I can say about Brendan Kay is his humbleness and the way he represented himself. So sometimes when kids have a lot of success, they carry a little bit of a swagger, or they carry a little bit of an attitude with them. Brendan was always the most humble kid around. He would meet you with eye-to-eye contact. He would shake your hand. He would ask how you're doing. So to me, that's the greatest memory. But I do remember him watching him in 8th grade basketball, and he was just a man among boys just because of his size at that time. He was, he was fairly big kid in 8th grade and muscular at the time. And watching him there, I knew that this was going to be a special athlete. And we were concerned a little bit for a while that he was going to go to Brother Rice, or he was going to sneak out and go to a Catholic school. So we talked to him, and he looked me in the eye and says, "Coach, I'm not going anywhere." So if you ask me, Rob, probably the day he looked me in the eye after I watched him play 8th grade basketball and dominate the game. And then I said, Brendan, you think you're going to stick around? You think you're going to go to Catholic school, whatever? He says, "Coach, I'm not going anywhere. I love Marine City. I'm going to stay right here." So I said, okay, we got something special now.
And you knew that his way to solve what he said, you could take that to the bank just by who he was.
Yeah, the way he looked you in the eye, you knew there was no bullshit coming from him, because he looked you in the eye. He'd tell you the way it is, and he's got great parents. Chuck, his dad, and Al, his stepdad, and Diane, the mom. They're just great people. I mentioned in the book, I said, Brendan Kay was a once in a lifetime athlete, And I said, his parents were once in a lifetime parents. I mean, that's a unique combination to have, because sometimes parents can be, out of touch a little bit, but they were great. They kept him in check and kept him humble and kept him polite and manners. And oh man, he's the full package.
Funny, I got a great story about Brennan, and I know you probably know about it, Ron, but he was at school one day, and there was a mom that came into the office and wanted to meet him real quick. And the mom, he came in and met her, and she goes, I know this is probably asking a lot, but my son, the only thing that he's wanted for Christmas was to have Brendan K knock on the door and come over for, like on Christmas. He goes, well, I'll see what I can do. Christmas Day, there's a knock on the door. The boy answers the door, and it's Brendan K with Marine City gear, everything for this kid, and stays a couple, 2-3 hours and plays video games and sits there with him. That's the class. That's the class act of that kid. And I love that kid. I would do anything for him.
Yeah. We were, I took him down to Indiana for scouting, for him to be exposed there and to have a workout with them. And that gave us a lot of car time. And there was, I think, a Kenny Chesney song coming on. And I said, Brendan, this is going to go on our highlight film after we win the state championship this year. And he says, Coach, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. So again, he just breathed confidence, and kids responded to that, and they rallied around him. And I was blessed to coach him. That's for sure.
Yeah. Two people in my lifetime I've seen win a football game by themselves. I'm not saying that, I'm saying that, tongue in cheek a little bit, because I know one person can't win a game, but I saw Randy Sosha beat Jackson Lumen Christie by himself. And I saw Brennan beat Flint Powers in the playoffs down 21-0. And I sat in the crowd, and everybody's getting ready to leave. And I looked over to Tim McConnell. I said, if they score a touchdown right here before the halftime, they're going to win this game. He goes, what are you talking about? And he went off in the second half, and they ended up beating. I mean, I literally had chills through my body the whole game. And then after the game, went and shook his hand, and I started welling up and tearing up. I'm like, dude, that is probably one of the best games I've ever seen in my entire life by a player. Thanks for being our quarterback. Yeah, and I know you got a story about what happened at halftime there, Ron. So
within our little offensive huddle, because we'd always separate offense and defense, he made the statement after I was done doing all my drawing and talking on the board. He says, fellas, you give me time. If you can give me time, I guarantee we'll come back and we'll win this game. So again, whenever he said something, the kids believed it, and he carried some power with it because he could back it up. And I think they knew that the momentum had shifted, and then they knew that if he had time, that he could make some things happen.
Coach, let me give the antithesis of that story in Fred's confidence. We were at the Marysville game in Marysville 2 years ago, watching that game.
Shut up.
The three of us, the idiots. And of course, Marysville scores a late touchdown, and Fred is just beside himself, just going absolutely nuts.
Well, it's because I didn't want my kids giving me a bunch of crap at home.
Yeah, well,
let's just say there's a few F-bombs.
And then after that big pass happened, boy, then it all changed. So don't let him fool you. He's not always confident about, wins in the end of the game.
Well, that was a huge win. I remember, I think I was camping, because I have never camped in the fall because I have always coached, and we're following it on Twitter or something. And I could not leave my phone, and getting, some smack talk from my wife. Said, you're retired, get off your phone, blah, blah, blah. This is a big game. I gotta find out how this thing ends. So yeah, I remember camping that weekend.
That was a drive that, will be remembered by Marine City fans. I mean, sure, I was, because you know how passionate I am about Marine City football, Ron. I think you already know that. And
everybody does, Fred.
Well, yes, I'm okay. But I think the biggest thing is watch them go down and score. And the last play for them to score was probably one of the best plays I've ever seen, where the running back kind of hesitated in the backfield and then went into the flat, and Heslop hit him right there in the corner. And we, all three of us were going nuts, but I was like, with a sigh of relief going, yeah, I knew it was going to happen. I'm like,
Yeah.
But,
And Darren has done a wonderful job. You know,
Yes, he
he
has.
was my offensive coordinator. So that was very hard for me when I became head coach. I knew it was important to hand over the reins to somebody else to get them moving in the direction of being a head coach someday. But that I love play calling. I really, really love play calling, but I handed it over to Darren and he took it full reins and has done a great job. And, you know, he continues to evolve the offense. And I think that's important. You have to continue to evolve to stay successful. And he's a guy that is very creative. So he continues to evolve the offense.
One thing before we get into the book, Ron, because we really want to talk about the book, is from me, which I never had a chance to sit down with you one-on-one, but I wanted to thank you. Sorry.
I said we needed to get him.
I know, I'm
teary-eyed,
just saying
not
that.
you, you dope. Good
I know
night.
during a tough time in my life, I really needed something. And when Dave Shield asked you if I could be the press box announcer, and you said, "Fuck yeah, let's do this,"
Yeah,
you
yeah.
couldn't ask for a better person. I can't thank you enough because it's been awesome for me, and I absolutely love it.
Well, you're the right guy for the job, Freddie. That's for sure. Because you know, you fit right in with us, and you carry the same passion as we do. And I really thought there was no way we could replace Dave Shield, and now Dave will tell you the same thing. You've done a great job, and we're very proud that you're in that spot right now. So
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, Fred, let's hear it. Another Mariner first down. Say it. Go ahead.
And it's another Mariner first down.
This is what we got
Which-
to live with, even in the off season, coach. Sometimes he's like that old senile guy who just starts flipping that out. Saying,
Yep, that's funny.
That's good, man. Good stuff.
So
let's
So
talk
Ron,
about the book. Run to the
let's talk
river.
about
It's
the
in
book.
Yeah. So I've joked for years. Anybody that's coached with me for a long time or been on the sidelines a long time or at our coaching parties afterwards, I'll many times say that one's going to book. And usually it was some bizarre story, something, for example, you know, back when we had to wear knee braces. I don't know if you guys remember that, but one of Bob's early years, our superintendent thought it was a great idea that every single player had to wear knee braces. Well, one guy, I think we called him Action Jack or something, I forget his name, but he wore his knee braces backwards and he came walking out to practice all stiff legged and he just, "Coach, these knee braces are terrible." I said, "Well, you got them on backwards, Jack." That's the problem. But a story like that's going in the book. That's going in the book. And then, you know, COVID kind of hit and I started thinking to myself, you know, it's nice to have those stories, but I think it would be even better if people realized, you know, how the program evolved and how much Coach Bob and Jerry Workentine were visionaries and got this thing rolling. So literally I had a 12-day run in this bedroom right here, which I've converted into my office where I start writing it. And, you know, I had no problem writing, you know, even though I was carrying COVID around, I had no problem. And I was alert enough to write and I just start going. And then lucky enough to connect with a publisher that's actually from Warren Fitzgerald, my high school. She was a classmate of my brother Jim, and I reached out to her with the idea and sent her the first chapter, and she loved it. And she said, "We got to do this." So that's how it all started back in November when I came down with COVID.
I love the name of the book.
Yeah.
The
We're
Run to
trying
the River.
storm the Algonac market. And so we want to get another 4 or 5 listeners here. How would, you know, so thinking about writing a book like this, we know Marine City is a small community. Your thought process, and walk us through this thought process for us. You're going to try to get everybody, it's a Mariner, right? Anybody who loves Marine City football. What's in the book to transcend that? What are you reaching out to other communities? Maybe something we can learn to, you know, storm that Algonac market.
Yeah, I think the process. I think the process that Bob utilized to get his coaching staff on task, to get the players thinking of the game a little bit differently, to get the players excited about Friday night. I mean, his entrance, 2001 Space Odyssey, he saw that from University of South Carolina, and he says, "We got to do it." So he just had so many great ideas that are still, you know, holding true today because they were such great ideas. But that process of getting coaches to buy in, and how you get coaches to buy in, how you get your players to buy in, how you get the community to buy in. That process, I think, is something that can go globally. And then just some of the stories of, what do you do when this circumstance comes about? What do you do when this error occurs? Things of that sort, how we dealt with some of those hurdles that we had to get over. It's about persistence. Really, if you look at any success that has happened to anybody in life, the term persistence is a factor there. And us losing to Marysville 10 years in a row would have been easy. Just say, okay, let's get them out of our conference. We can't handle them. But no, we kept knocking heads with them to the point where we were able to win some games. So the persistence, the story of the persistence, and things of that sort.
So what I'm hearing you say, and correct me if I'm wrong, if someone owns a small business in Port Huron, Novi, somewhere, and they're looking for leadership development and a process to, bring to their small organization, this would be a good book to show the steps and how that could be, right?
I agree. I totally agree. And does my publisher as well. She is excited that this is going to be bought in bundles. That she calls your book is very bundle friendly, and that means that whenever there's a conference for a certain company, that
Yep.
she might sell 100 books to this conference because it is a good tool to learn how it occurred here, and that some of those lessons could be carried over to your business or your place of work, where it may be.
Mike, we know that great famous football coaches, especially college coaches, they make another great career after they retire in business speaking engagements at conferences and seminars. Yeah. I mean, Nick Saban has done it. D'Antonio's done it. I mean, that's just something that kind of relates, right? Team building with teams into business.
I always thought that the Marine City football program, why couldn't there be a movie about the program? I mean, is that something you thought about, Ron? A movie maybe?
Yeah, and I hate to jump ahead, but she's mentioned because my book publisher, first of all, is a award-winning documentary maker. Her name is Susan Sember, Sember. She's got a ton of documentaries under her belt, and in the end of May, she's coming out to interview me for her latest documentary, which is called Beyond the Game, and it's basically telling kids and high school students how to deal with large chunks of money that they're now coming into play with the NIL deals and some of the contracts they're getting. But she has mentioned to me that there already been some requests, to perceive this and look at it in its relatability to film. So she said it could be very transferable to film. So that's kind of an exciting part of it as well.
Yeah,
that's cool. And the other thing that I really liked what Bob did as far as transition concerned was switching the uniforms to black.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved the uniforms. I loved the helmets. and when you guys come out of the tunnel, the kids are ready and pumped. But Rob and I were talking just yesterday, and we watched your in the locker room speech before the Clintondale game. And the hair on the back of my neck stood up because you did the same thing this year at Ford Field before they played Catholic Central. Your speech, not as boisterous, but the demand of respect. I want eyes on me. I want and listen, and I that's one of the things that Bob, Tony, yourself, and I'm sure Darren commands that respect. And I mean, with a book like this, if you could just kind of elaborate a little bit on a couple of the chapters, don't go into detail because I mean, obviously you don't want to spoil it, but just kind of give some ideas of, what might be, some kind of something exciting to see in the book.
Well, there's some factual stuff. For example, the helmet. Bob transitioned that helmet out of the boat with the sails on it because we thought, how tough can we be with a boat and sails on our helmet here, to a harpoon. And that harpoon came from a student. It was Joel Walendowski, because Coach Bob said, "Hey, I want to kind of put a harpoon. Can you?" And he was, a good artist at the time. He said, "Can you sketch me something?" And so Joel Walendowski, a student at Marine City High School, came up with that design, and it's still there today. And that harpoon will be on the front cover of that book. I can guarantee you that. So ideas about how things, that Bob brought in, and then things that I converted. Dawn Patrol, for example, February
Fantastic
workouts.
idea right there.
Yeah, he did that to get his linemen moving their feet better. He started playing dodgeball with them. He came in and they played dodgeball. That transitioned with Tony and I to, 50, 60, 70 kids doing speed workouts at 6 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday or Thursday in February. So things like that. A couple stories about with a few sodas in us, too many sodas in us, and in the aftermath that occurred after a few sodas in us.
That's when we do our best work. That's when we do our best work.
That's when you do your best work, Mike.
Yeah. And I'll just say this about Coach Bob, who I love to death, and he'll probably kill me for saying this, but he is what I classify as an all or nothing drinker. Either he's gonna drink all night long, or he's not gonna have anything. So there's no in between with him. He is an all or nothing drinker. So.
No chance at all that he'll even see this or even hear about it. We have even know why you came on to do this show. Fred said he's going to come on and try to help his book, and we're like, this kid at this point can only hurt his book sales. But we don't even know why.
Well, let me just tell you this, a little story about Bob. And so Bob, Tony, Ron, Bill Nesbitt, and myself. It's Bill Nesbitt's bachelor party. And we go golf.
Was he wearing pants?
Yeah. Was he
No,
wearing shorts?
of course not. But we golfed at Marysville, and then afterwards, I said, "Well, hey, why don't you guys come over to my house and we'll have a couple sodas down in the basement, to prepare, to go on with the thing."
Is soda's euphemism for something?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We had a few root beers, and then Coach Bob kind of goes, "You know what, Fred? I don't want to be in this town any longer. I don't really, you're a traitor living up here." And then you get Tony. He's like, yeah. Why are you living up here, Windsor? Come on, what are you living up? And I'm like, trust me, when you come to my house, you'll be fine. So we walk down the basement, living in Marysville, Mariner flag flying in my front yard, and you go in the basement and it's all orange and black. And he goes, "All right, I'll give you it this time, but why do you live here?"
Yeah.
It went on to be a great night.
I like this story better. We're sitting, I think it was the three of us watching Michigan Penn State in your living room. We weren't even downstairs. And one of the girls came home and they said, "Who won the football game?" They were talking about the Marysville Marine City game. And Fred goes, "We won." And his daughter goes, "The Vikings won?" And we all looked and said, "We're not Vikings."
I continuously give Fred hell for living in Marysville. So Rob lives in Florida now. I'm the only one that lives in Marine City out of these three idiots. So
he still lives in the idiot circle, actually, Coach.
Wow.
Right on the idiot circle. I never left it. So.
That's good.
Hey, Coach, I like to tie things back always when we're talking to guests, and you're only our third one, so this is kind of new for us. But anyway, you said beyond the game, right? You have the publisher that, went to the same school. I was born in Warren, by the way.
Okay.
Let's tie it back to our beyond the game. Let's talk about the athletes that you've helped along the way. Even though you were a football coach or a basketball coach, baseball coach, whatever you did, you've made them become better people. They went on to get college degrees. They've bettered their life. They took those principles and practices that you taught them, and they became better individuals. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, that to me, maybe some of the most rewarding stuff is getting a text from a player. Hey, coach, I just graduated. I want to thank you for, pointing me in the right direction, or just seeing some success that somebody's had outside the program. And kind of what I was proud of when I became head coach, I made a point of bringing back former players to talk to our team and say, this is what life is like after Marine City football. Josh Preeb, for one, is an example that I brought back. Jerry Wesley, I brought back to talk to the team. Ralph Onesco, I brought back to talk to the team. But these guys, had great careers in whatever they were involved in. And I just wanted the kids to understand this is a portion of your life that is going to prepare you for the aftermath, what happens after high school. So you have to utilize what you're learning here and put it to use in your afterlife right there when you're out of high school. So the kids that we have, their ability to work hard, it's amazing the success they've had outside the program, and we're very proud of it. And to me, that is one of the most rewarding things, seeing a kid come back and tell me where he's at and how he's doing. I love to hear those stories. I can't get enough of those.
Mike, Fred, I mean, we're so proud because you 3-4 coaches have brought that to our town where it wasn't there before. People didn't have those kind of opportunities. There were a lot of people who didn't graduate college in Marine City back in the 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s, even into the 80s. So that we're proud of you guys for being able to do that. I think that's what Mariner pride is.
Yeah, well, thank you. And I think the longer we coached, the more we understood how important that was to get these kids ready for life after high school. When you're a young coach, all you care about is wins. That's all you care about. But later in my coaching career, it was important to me, for them to be ready for life after high school, and I took time to make sure we did things to prepare them for that.
Coach, where did the name of the book or the title of the book come from? I was joking with these guys earlier that I live a block from the river. I could maybe run to the river, but that would be pushing it. I probably wouldn't make it. Rob's probably right. But where did the name come from?
Yeah, it was always because Team Over Talent kind of, by the way, the book is two different themes going through it. One is the evolution of the program, Coach Bob, Jerry Work and team, and how that program was built. And then the other theme is the 2013 season. So I go back and forth between chapters, weaving back and forth. But anyways, I was talking to my publisher, and the title was going to be Team Over Talent, and she wasn't really crazy about that, and I understand why, because that it just speaks to football. And going back to what Rob said, we wanted this book to be more transcendent and go beyond the football crowd. So literally, we're talking, and I said, what about, because we had talked about Andy Shield and its importance of jumping into the river after big wins. He promised to do that to the kids. The town being on the river site. I just threw it out there. I said, what do you think about this? Run to the river. And she paused, and it's an awkward pause. And I said, oh my gosh, did I put my foot up my butt here? What did I do? And she goes, I love that. I love that. So to me, that was that's where it came from. Just a conversation with my publisher, and we're just throwing things out there because she wanted that early, because we had to secure GoDaddy, we had to secure websites and stuff like that. So we had to search it out to see if anybody had it. Nobody had it. So that's why she wanted that title early, so we could figure out some of those social media things.
Yeah. And Rob, if you do go on YouTube, you can actually watch the videos of Andy running into the river. I mean, we're ice cold, running it, and you just have to die laughing, because remember, I coached Andy in high school. Mm-hmm. I coached Darren Lutzen in high school, and baseball with my dad, and you knew these type of guys were going to always be around, and they always had a fiery sense of themselves. I mean, trying to calm Darren Lutzen down as a sophomore and bringing him up, I warned him. I said, look, I'm going to bring you up. I said, if I get any kind of gyrations and getting all hyped up, I'm going to pull you out of the game. First game, somebody made an error and he just went rah, 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 and I walked around and pulled him, and I said, you think I was kidding? But you knew that was going to help fire. He was going to, as a sophomore, when he became a junior and became a senior, that he was going to be one of those type of guys that were going to end up leading, not only on the baseball field, but maybe in the future, especially coaching with the football team. Yeah. And that's the cool thing about what the staff does, and what what Ron says,
Yeah.
being persistent, being consistent, and having these people around all the time. It really makes the kids feel secure,
Yeah.
and they know they're being taught properly all the way through
I
the
think it
program.
should be a Marine City tradition after every big championship game. The whole town goes and jumps in the river.
There you
Then
go.
goes over to Gar's and has a burger and a boopa.
There you go. I'm gonna go back to Mike. The idea of this being a movie, and boy, it would sure be cool if it ever did happen. But the night Andy went in after our championship parade, it was pitch black out. We had our parade through downtown, and then the whole parade crowd followed us to the beach. And I stood on the lifeguard tower with my wife, and I kind of gave Andy the heads up when it was time to go. But just to see the whole downtown merge, that crowd come to the beach area, pitch black. There's not a lot of light shining except Scott Whiting and his camera. And to see that migration and to see them form a tunnel for Andy to run through, I got goosebumps there. And I told my wife, this is just out of a movie. This scene is right out of a movie. So that was another seed that planted the idea. We got to make sure people understand this whole story and are
Coach,
able
if it
to
was
have
made
something.
into a movie, what actor would play you?
My publisher asked me that. I have no idea. We're getting way ahead of ourselves,
Come
but that's
on, but
okay.
you got to have someone in mind.
Yeah. I've
Tom
always been
Cruise?
told that Tom Hanks kind of looks like me, but I don't know if he would be interested in such a role. But I wouldn't mind if an unknown did it as well. I thought that would be
I
fun.
already have an actor. Well, I had an actor who could have played Fred up in the press box announcing the game, but he just passed away. That would have been Louis Anderson.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Rob.
That's awesome. That's
There you go, Rob. There it is.
Oh God. But you know what? Ron is not only a good coach, but he's a hell of a dancer. If you catch the video of one of the games where we ended up scoring a touchdown, he does the robot down the sideline. I must have replayed that thing 50 times over. And Craig Headley and his wife, oh my God, we just died laughing about it because it was awesome, and they kept playing it back over. We're over at Ron's house after the game.
Give us a little shot. Come on, for the book sale.
Yeah.
Give us a little shot.
But
We got to see it. Come on.
if you talk to Tony Scarcelli, he'll share with you how many times something has come out of my mouth and then he'll get pissed, or he'll I'm chirping at a ref or something, and my response is, I'm pretty sure I have some form of Tourette's where things just kind of come out and I don't know when they're going to come out, but it happens. And probably my dance move there was one of my Tourette's episodes going on. Yeah.
Shit just flies out of your mouth. Let's see. You could be at the fourth on the idiot circle. You want to be a regular on the show?
Yeah.
I mean, you could definitely be a regular.
We all have Tourette's. You wouldn't know it this episode. We all took some. I don't know what we took before the show.
Yeah, we dialed it down.
Yeah,
we had a big game at Warren Towers. It was for league championship, and the referee. I was tripping at the referee a little bit because he was calling offsides, and we weren't offsides. Long story short, he comes storming to the sideline. He goes, "Tony, that coach has got to shut up. What is his name?" And I just screamed back at him, "I'm Ron Glodich. What is your name?" Tony said, "Shut the hell up. Just shut the hell up."
Coach, if your wife was in the room right now and she was going to tell us something embarrassing about you, what would it be? Something that nobody knows.
Oh, wow. Way to put me on the spot, Rob. Holy cow.
Like you did ballroom dancing with her one year, or
she'll probably tell you that I love to sing karaoke by myself. I will put on the damn Alexa speaker in the kitchen there, and I'll get some song going there, and I'll just light up the whole house with my voice there. And she'll say, this guy thinks he's a singer. Just ask him. That's
okay.
What she'll
So
do.
we just have to hack into your Alexa, and we'll get the recordings and post those out
There
on
you
the
go.
internet.
Yeah.
No problem. Thanks for the tip.
Yeah.
Oh, so hey, Ron, before we get going here, knowing that Marine City's since 87 to 2019, 288 and 68 with almost an 81% win percentage, which is obviously outstanding. And I just saw, and we talked about this on a show previously, that Marine City's got the fifth highest, or the fourth or fifth highest winning percentage in Division 5.
Fifth.
And the funny thing is what people don't really realize, we were in Division 4 for most of those years as well.
Mhm.
So what is your true definition of team?
Everybody, buys into their role. I'll take, for example, that 2013 team. We had a kid that we converted from linebacker to defensive line. His name was Kyle Scharnweber, and Kyle was a hell of a linebacker. But we had some young kids coming up, Jacob Headley and Dennis Fitzsimmons, and they were going to be good linebackers. And we said, Kyle, we'd like you to play defensive line. He said, Coach, I'll do whatever you need. And he ended up being a hell of a defensive lineman. But if he doesn't buy into that, and if he doesn't take that move and understand the importance to the team, then we don't succeed. So anybody that understands their role and commits to their role, we can't all be quarterbacks, we can't all be shortstops, but if they commit to their role and understand the importance of their role, Andy made a point about a chain link, and you're only as good as your weakest link. So we tried to remove our weakest links and sell that team concept. To me, that's what team. Everybody buys into their role and just does their job to the best of their ability, and now you have a good team.
I mean, that first state championship against Country Day, incredible. I mean, it was an incredible turnout. And to me, that was the pinnacle. That was the shining moment for the Marine City football team, the football program. I mean, again, it sounds corny, but against all odds, let's face it, you guys were outmatched, but it didn't matter because you guys played discipline. You play, everyone stuck to their role, stuck to their position. It was an incredible game to watch, and the turnout was amazing. It's still
the largest crowd to watch a high school championship football game.
If you see a picture of that crowd, it's amazing, that crowd at the 07 game. And I talk about John because John Lischek came back to talk to our 2013 team, as did Brendan Kay. But Johnny took it on full steam. This is my job. I got to come off the edge. I got to get a piece of Jonas Gray as soon as I can. And he played the game of his life because he knew that was his job. He was going to go gung ho, and he was going to do his job to the best of his ability. Another funny story, talk about my Tourette's. At the end of that game, you probably don't remember, but we had a third down situation. We had the lead, the clock was running, and I threw a seam route to Brent Weil. Brendan completed it. It was for a big first down, but we really didn't want to throw the ball and give the ball back to them at that time. So Tony comes over and he basically says, "You throw the effing ball again, I'm going to kick your ass." Said, "Okay, Tony, gotcha. I got you, Tony." Understood.
Well,
that's awesome.
Here's a funny story. John and Evan Lischek is my cousin and Rob's cousin. So it was, a very proud moment having a family member be on the team and play as well as, him and Batchelor and Brent Weil and Brendan and Chad Allman. Just a group of guys that said, hey, enough of these Orchard Lake, St. Mary's, and these Catholic schools. Hey, it's time for a public school to knock somebody's dick in the dirt, and that's exactly what happened. Jonas Gray was a non-factor in that game, and he went on to Notre Dame, and
Demons was on.
They had Kenny Demons went to Michigan. They had some.
Kenny Fowler, receiver. There's 3 NFL guys that came off that team.
Yep.
Wow.
Hey, Coach, we had one other generational player. It's no longer with us. He was in our time, and I wonder if you watched any of the film because you have access to the archives. Randy Jones, were you able to ever look at some of his talents on?
A few. A Marysville game I saw, and I think the Divine Child game I saw, but I got a lot of information from Tim McConnell and just the understanding of the type of guy he was and the hard worker that he was, and the family, just a great family. So I did learn of him, and I did get the chance to watch a few of him and kids like him,
He really put Marine City football on the map. USA Today came out, just early 80s. And they would do feature players in high school every week. And he back-to-back made the feature running back 2 weeks in a row. No other high school football player ever has done it before or since, which was just an amazing feat.
And what a great athlete and a great person. And obviously untimely death. But Ron, you talked about Brendan's family being a top-notch family, but I've met your family and your parents, and they were top-notch, and I'm sure they were a big influence in your life, especially as an athlete and as a teacher. And I know how much you loved your dad and how much everybody loved your dad. He always had candy with him, and he was a big part of the baseball program and the football program. Just kind of elaborate a little bit about your family.
Yeah, they were both pretty darn good athletes. My mom, at the time, Denby High School, they didn't have women's sports, but my Uncle Bob tells the story of her playing. She was the only girl that they allowed to play the sandlot baseball or the pickup basketball, whatever it may be. So she's a pretty darn good athlete. And I'm pretty sure I got my temper and my fire from my mom, because she could flip on a switch if she didn't like what was going on. She could flip on a switch and let us have it pretty good. Dad was a national champ gymnastic all-around gymnast, and he won it when he was 18 years old. Not for the USA Nationals, but for CYO Suckles, still nationwide competition in Cincinnati, Ohio, and he won that competition.
Wow.
So he had gold medals sitting in the basement there, and we got to see some pictures of him in his, what they're called, leotards, whatever, as a gymnast. And it's like, holy cow, the body that he developed. But he was very calm, very laid back. He just tap you on the shoulder, nice game, or he gave a good effort, where mom would say, hey, we got some things to work on, let's go in the basement, we got to get better at some things. Literally, she would drag me down the basement, and we can't have that happen again, we got to get better. So I mentioned in the book how, believe it or not, my mom was modeling good coaching way back when I was 10 years old. She was understood the idea of change and how to get change, and the steps it took to get change. So she modeled some great coaching for me at a very young age.
That's great, because I mean, obviously, that I had a pretty good mentor in my father as well. And trust me, I had one of those things where I'll never forget. I was in ninth grade, and we had played Marysville, and we lost on a buzzer shot. And he walked in the house coming from work, and he goes, well, how'd you do? He goes, I go, me or the team? He goes, you. I go, how many points you have? He goes, I go, 34. He goes, how many rebounds you have? I had 16. How many assists? 8. What were you from the line? 6 of 12. Did you win or lose? We lost on a buzzer shot. Yeah, it wasn't good enough. If you'd have made your free throws, that shot wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah.
That's what I got. And then of course, well, yeah, it is. And I remember my hands bleeding shooting balls out in my front yard, even in the winter time. And it was, because
it certainly wasn't from doing yard work or shoveling snow, was it?
Well, no, that's the only way I could get. My dad would let me shovel snow, was to create a space so I could shoot free throws and shoot during the winter. And I had like 14 basketballs. When the one stopped dribbling, I'd go get, bounce, and I'd get another one. So, and I know that you're the same way around, because I know I've seen you golf, I've seen you bowl, and you're just one of those guys that picks up things pretty quick. So it's one of the. So I know exactly, the type of guy you're at. So, so when should we expect this book to be coming out?
Before I mention, I just want to also mention, I would feel guilty if I didn't. I had 2 great older brothers, Jim and John. Jim's 8 years older than me. John's 5 years older to the day. But they were great mentors, and they were, I grew up watching them play. So my love of sports really, came about just watching them play and seeing their success. As far as the book goes, we are done writing. I'm done writing, and right now it's in the editing stages, book design, cover design, and then I've got to pick out 12 pictures to put into that book, which is going to be a challenge because I'm limited to 12 pictures. And my publisher is saying late summer, maybe early fall. She wants to time it out with the release of that documentary Beyond the Game, and that is going to be same timeline, late summer, early fall for the release of that. So there's some, like I said, bundle packages she wants to put the book into with that documentary. And there's a potential that I may be doing a little bit of a speaking tour at some of the colleges that pick up this Beyond the Game and be one of the keynote speakers during that tour. So I'm excited about that possibility.
Talking Ron
Awesome.
about just going to ronglodich.com and you can pre-order the book. I did that. It was pretty
Me too.
easy and simple, right?
Yes. RonGlodich.com is the launch page right now for the book. And we'll be putting updates hopefully at the end of May when those interviews happen. We'll be getting them some shots of that. My daughter just wrote a blog for the website. We're going to put that up this week sometime. So, stuff like that. We want to keep investing into it and keep everybody informed of what's going on.
Well, yep. So
book
let us know if we
signings-
can do
book
anything to
signings
help you
around-
keep it going too, Ron.
Book signings around town, Ron.
Yeah, we plan that. Once we get a release date, we'll firm that up a little bit better. And I'm going to try my best, and I think I can, getting Coach Bob and Coach Scar with me at the book signings, because I believe, it would be huge if we could have them there, because I know a lot of people would love to see those two guys again as well. So,
Yep. Tony will
Well-
sign my book. Fred, I might have been born at night, but it wasn't last night. Tony. He used to say that all the time. So, hey, Ron, hey, we really appreciate you coming on the show. I hope you enjoyed your time on the show.
I did.
Um,
You guys are
Would
fun.
you do this show again, Ron?
Yeah, why not? What the hell?
What the hell's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Columbus took a chance.
Hey, I'm
Columbus.
semi-retired. What else I got to do? I'm semi-retired.
Right. Hey, Ron, we might have a football preview show, like just before the season start. You might have you come on and we'll talk a little bit about what to expect in the area, if anything that you come up with, and what we're gonna try to get Darren on, and one of the guys from the north,
Sure.
and then one of them coaches.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, and we'll see what we can muster up and see what kind of
We asked Jim Harbaugh. He said no.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't give
Someone
us a
said
straight
no. I'm not sure
answer.
if it was him.
He didn't give us a straight answer, which is, that's what he
We
does.
we
right?
told him he could bring Kaepernick on and do a throwing exercise on the show, but
We had
Yeah.
Brian Kelly, but he bailed on us the last minute. So
Yeah, it was like midnight. He just left town. It
In
was
the middle of
crazy.
the night, he bailed on us.
Right.
I think we're
Oh,
gonna
boy.
have you mentioned Freddie's arm, of course, it's legendary. We're gonna have Kaepernick against Fred Windsor right downtown in Marine City. That's what I'm trying to get
we
organized.
go.
But
I'm
we'll
telling you
see.
right now,
Yeah.
I'd beat him.
I know
got
you
him.
would. My money's on you,
Yeah.
Fred. Money's on
Yeah.
you, Freddie.
Yeah.
I won't kneel. I'll tell you that.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, God.
Unless you're gonna do that before you throw to give him a chance, right?
Right.
Exactly.
So, hey, Ron, hey, again, thanks. We really appreciate it. Folks, we're going to be, the show's going to be downloaded. It'll be on our YouTube channel. It's going to be on our Facebook page as well, the Idiot Circle, as well as we're trying to get it downloaded onto the Mariner fan page as well for everybody to take a view. And Ron, again, it was an honor and a privilege. And dude, you know how much I love you. And the guys here are in awe of you and what you've done and what the coaching staff has done. We really appreciate your time.
It was a blast, guys. Thanks for having me. Appreciate you giving me the opportunity to talk about the book and talk about Mariner football, and truly enjoyed it. You guys were fun to be around. So thank you very much.
All
Go
right. Thanks,
Mariners.
Coach. Go Mariners.
Coach.
All right. Thank you.